podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
All right, Daniel. Fun and games today, wasn't it? How's it going?
Oh, that was good. That was a real United are back afternoon.
It's really entertaining.
Kind of just bizarre opposition capcision and anger and fury and red cards and penalties and just everything that we love about United being good was in that game. Playing crap as well.
Played absolute crap. United were terrible. They really looked slow, and it doesn't help that they've got in Weghorst and Maguire at either ends of the pitch, some really, really slow players. So, but it was just terrible until that 5 minutes, and we had 5 minutes of 2 United goals, 3 red cards, and absolute chaos.
Oh, beautiful. I know we were playing badly, and we do have to make the point, which I guess we can make here without feeling like people are going to totally laugh at us because we're amongst like-minded idiots, or whatever. But they've played a lot of games. I had to go and do a radio thing the day after we lost 7-0 to Liverpool. And I was asked to explain why what happened. And obviously I said the main reason was the dreadful behaviour by all the United players at the same time. But if that's gonna happen, then whatever it was, 2-3-0 down after with still 40 minutes to play at Anfield is somewhere where it might. When you're on the verge physically and mentally, you've just spent and won a trophy and all the rest of it. And it's not an excuse because it's still what we saw was not right. But
yeah,
it is. I think that was a tired performance, and we've seen a lot of tired first halves.
Quite a lot
in recent times, I would say.
Oh, well, I was counting it back. I think United have played 13 midweeks in a row now. So weekend, midweek for 13 weeks. And I suppose they get a break now, some of them, but a lot of this squad are going to be off on international duty.
Fergie, so, this is where we need Fergie to intervene. Like he did, I wouldn't in general have him telling anything really to Ten Hag unless Ten Hag goes to ask him. But this real discrete problem that we have is one where it should be a hand on the shoulder of the manager saying, "This is how you do it."
Well, Ryan Giggs played from when he was 16 to 41, and he played about 3 international games, didn't he? That weren't the really, really big ones. So always found a way of being injured. So yeah, it would be really helpful if a lot of players picked up injuries this week, but many of them won't, and they're going to get 2 games, and then it's going to be midweek, weekend, at least until United are out of the Europa League, which, given the draw, shouldn't be anytime soon. And so they're just going to end up playing a lot of games. But
I've been thinking about this, and what surprises me is that in a way that it's happened because McLaren's there. Because with Ten Hag, like you could say, well, he doesn't actually know what it's like to manage a team through a World Cup in the middle of the season, because no one does. So number one, there's that. That's an unknown. That's not going to do you any favours, probably. But then also, the Premier League is more physically demanding than being the best team in the Eredivisie. It just is, where you're kind of fresh for the Champions League or fresher. I don't know if they have a League Cup in Holland, but United have been the busiest team in world football for the last couple of years, probably. Not so much last season, but the season before that and season before that. They played loads. It's the same players playing all the time and then playing through the summers. And now they're the same players that are playing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they should be burning out. They're
what I don't
an incredible amount of games.
So if this is new to Ten Hag and McLaren hasn't told him that you have to rotate a bit because Fergie did it, like I think because some of them, with Bruno in particular, he plays every single game. Didn't he play Charlton at home in the League Cup, Bruno?
Yeah.
Did he play that one?
I know.
He's played like Reading. He plays.
He did, and Forest played all of them. Yeah.
I get it. He's the captain. You think you might have a problem without him, but there's got to be enough attacking talent in those teams to at least try a half.
Yeah. I get the sense from what Ten Hag has been talking about recently when it comes to Bruno, in his various pre and post match press conferences that he trusts him to be his sort of captain manager on the pitch, right? He's the captain. He keeps talking about how tactically aware he is, which is not the first thing I think about when I think about Bruno running all over the place like a headless chicken, like he did against Liverpool. But he really believes in him, Ten Hag.
He really understands the game.
Yeah.
He just like when you hear him talk about football, I've probably said this loads of times. The club podcast, like 2-hour interview, whatever, with him.
Yeah.
Listen to that. It's excellent.
Yeah.
He really understands the game. And although he plays it in an emotional way because he's an emotional bloke, I think, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't understand the finer points. He might just choose not to pursue them because he's not that guy.
I mean, look, I shouldn't have a lot of sports science that are looking at the zones that, they talk about red and amber zones, don't they? And they're looking at who is vulnerable to injury. So they must have that sports science. It's just, it doesn't seem to be a lot of rotation. I mean, it was today. Fair enough. I mean, Varane picked up an injury. Doesn't sound like it's too serious. He might not have played anyway, because they're trying to manage him through all these games. And Casemiro is obviously suspended. He was going to have this one anyway. So they were kind of forced into some rotation, which turned into a very sort of jaded plus disjointed performance.
Whenever Casemiro's not there. Yeah, you
it
notice.
starts to feel like United of old, doesn't it? I mean, Sabitzer kind of interesting. I don't know what he is exactly. He just feels like a slightly better version of McTominay, but not a million miles better.
I don't think I'm not judging him yet because I haven't seen a lot of him, and he hasn't played that much.
He hasn't played that much.
He hasn't played a run of games either, and so he's not or in the same position in the games. So I don't want to judge him. He scored a nice goal today. Obviously, I wasn't that chuffed that he was part of a midfield getting overrun by Fulhams. But he wasn't the only guy he wasn't the only one who was responsible for that. So I'm not blaming him in any way. And then he scored the winner. So he looks to me like someone who's quite good in various positions and not outstanding in any of them. He'd be a squad player at best. But he's a squad player who might get more playing time in our squad than in Bayern Munich's squad, I suppose.
Right. But if you're going to take a game where, United chasing top four, and that's got to be the priority, and so the FA Cup is second or third on the list of priorities now for the rest of the season. Not sure which one of those. If you're going to pick a game in which there would be some rotation, it might be this one, although it would have been better if it had been Charlton, obviously, or Burnley, or whoever else who played this season. Or both.
Obviously it's very easy for us to say, but I don't even want to say these ludicrous words had I been picking the team, because I obviously couldn't be further from picking the team. I'm picking my nose. I think that, like Anders Lindegaard. There you go. There were various games where, in my ludicrous conversations with my United message group, where I said I would leave Bruno out of this one and this one. I would have left Bruno out of the Forest away game or home game, at least one of those Forest games in the League Cup semi. Because how are we not beating Forest over 2 legs? Come on. And so that would, I don't know. But the problem isn't getting injured either. It's fatigue sometime later on, even if it's not now.
Sure, yeah, it just builds up. It builds up. And injuries can a lagging indicator of players getting into the zones. I mean, if you look at Chelsea and Liverpool this season, they're both really high in the number of minutes missing, and they both played 60-something games last season. So I do think it kind of has a knock-on effect, or as a lagging indicator of how many minutes you play. Anyway, I mean, it's all to say that it looked like a very, very tired performance, and throwing the changes, and Harry Maguire taking 75 seconds to make a pass, and you had quite a low intensity, low energy game, didn't you? So it was funny how the Old Trafford crowd got really on the back of Harry Maguire in the end.
I mean, I
don't like to hear
what's
it.
The point?
But...
What is the point? Not like if you before you take a moral stance, what's the utilitarian point? Telling Harry Maguire that you think he's a prick? I don't know. Or you don't think he's good. I don't think that people who go and pay can do what they want. They go pay the game. In my opinion, that's not what you should be doing. He's the captain of United. He's not even a dickhead. Like, he's obviously someone we poke. He's someone we poke fun at for being a bit of a lummox. And for me, it was always been the exhibition fronting up that it makes me laugh. And that's one of the things I like about football, is laughing at the stuff that I see, and the taking of the armband when he comes on for the last 2 seconds when you're 17-0 up. or the wearing, just stuff like that. I mean, but Harry Maguire, essentially, I reckon is probably a good guy. He's not.
Yeah,
He's not
I
someone.
mean,
He's not slacking. He
no,
thinks he's a little bit better than he is, but don't we all? I don't have a beef with Harry Maguire, and I don't see why you would get on the back of the United captain during a game at Old Trafford that you're trying to win.
I think he was probably the focal point for the general listlessness. It just seemed to be happening very, very slowly, everything. And every time Maguire got the ball, you had this triumvirate of at the back of De Gea, Maguire, Lisandro Martinez. Martinez, of course, you can pass it quickly, but especially De Gea and Maguire, neither of them comfortable. And they're trying to do the split centre-backs, kick off, and then it ends up going back to De Gea, who lumps it forward because he can't do anything. Or Maguire, who takes ages and ages and ages and then hits a diagonal out of play. That kind of thing. And it just felt like it was happening over and over again. So I can kind of understand the frustration. But yes, I mean having a go at Maguire is not the answer.
I think the thing with Maguire is, and we're part of this, that there's a constant content creation taking place in football of people who write about it, who talk about it. And there's a particular tone to it of people spending literally like their lives, days trying to make memes and jokes and funny observations and wry observations about football. And I feel like the booing of the United captain by United fans in the ground during an FA Cup quarter final for more or less nothing is sort of a manifestation of that it's made Harry Maguire into this figure. And as I said, like I'm part of it. I mean, I won't confess on your behalf, but yeah, like I write stuff, make like joking about footballers, and I put stuff out there doing that.
Sure.
And I think that is probably that. And I'm not, I mean, obviously everyone who goes makes their own decision, and I'm not, maybe they weren't swayed by anything that they ever saw or heard, who knows? But it feels like that, and it's not pleasant, really.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to just embody this thing today where United just they were whether it's tiredness or lack of invention in midfield, because both of those players are pretty prosaic. It just didn't move very quickly, and United created hardly anything in that first half. And Fulham were on top. They had more of the possession. They had better possession. They looked like they were more threatening. And I guess it's a factor of all the things we talked about. But there was definitely a sense of frustration, which is odd, isn't it? How quickly we become entitled again. United have a big success, and then we're like, wow, we should smash this like every week. Progress.
I'm not quite there yet with this team. I am where I was in the second half, thinking you've scored too early there. Like, there's not a chance that you're going to. Like, I always feel like that now you have to score twice to beat United. So United having more than whatever it was, like 40 minutes, 35 minutes to go and get one goal against Fulham at home with players on the bench. I never really felt that they weren't going to win. They weren't going to at least get to extra time of that game, which is progress. For most of the last 10 years, I would not have thought that.
I don't know if I was always supremely confident today. Anyway, I guess we should talk about the very entertaining stuff that happened. I mean, look, for a start.
Before we get there, did you think they should have had a penalty? Did you think they should have had a penalty?
For which incident?
The Mitrovic and Martinez one.
Oh, no.
Right, that's that sorted then. Good.
Did you?
Marco Silva did, but someone should tell him that you've presided. So I'm cool with that.
Exactly.
No, I didn't think it was a penalty either. There was a bit of a coming together.
Yeah.
But every time, like it's not just the penalties, although this itself is annoying. The penalty thing in particular is annoying because we're spending so much time deciding what isn't a penalty, and more than that, now like they go to VAR and I've got no idea. Even though I'm looking at the footage, I'll be thinking I don't know what's going to happen now, because it's become unpredictable. I think because the extra layer of clear and obvious has become an extra test of subjectivity on top of laws that are already subjective. So you've no idea.
For sure. Yeah, and especially with that kind of penalty incident. Yeah.
So you've no idea what anyone's going to give. But the thing about the penalty issue as well is that the reason why is it so important? Because a penalty is a totally disproportionate punishment for almost everything.
For most of the time, yeah.
That yields a penalty.
Yeah.
It's a basically like 80% chance. I think it's 80% chance to goal.
There are hardly any situations in which any other chance is 80%. I mean, you have to be inside the 6-yard box with the goalkeeper like flat on his back for it to be an 80% chance. Like, there's just almost none of them. You'd think so, the way pundits talk about it, but almost no opportunities at 80% chances.
And I don't have a very large sample size for this, but I do think people are getting better at taking penalties. And I don't know if it translates necessarily into in-match penalties if the scoring rate has gone up. But just anecdotally from watching football, it seems a lot like penalty shootouts are going longer more often.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a guy who on Twitter whose handle I'm totally forgetting, but all he is, and it's called like penalty stats. And that's all he does. He looks at, he's done modelling around penalties. He's got like 10,000 penalties that he's built his models around. And it's not just, so it's an 80% chance overall, or just slightly lower than that, I think. But also he's modelled, I'll dig it out and tweet it out at some point later. He's modelled like, what is the chance depending on where it goes in the goal? So obviously 80% is the average, but it's straight down the centre, which actually happens very, very infrequently, given how high the percentage of scoring is there. It's fairly high. If it's in the top right corner, it's like 95% chance, and so on and so on. Like, anyway, it's fairly obvious.
I mean, that's the one with like, exactly, taking penalties. If you can put it above about a third up with accuracy, you just should expect to score basically every time, because it's unsavable if you can do it. I feel like I'm surprised at the way that people take penalties. It feels like they're not minimizing the chance to get it wrong or get it right, whatever. It feels like if you're good enough to be a professional footballer, you should be hitting the side netting 2/3 of the way up.
Yeah, in training, if they put a little target that's slightly bigger than the ball in the top corner, most of them be able to hit it. So, as you see when they do the crossbar challenges and stuff like that.
But anyway, the thing with so penalties are just too big, way too big a punishment. So what you have to do, is you have to say that you get a penalty for the denial of a goal scoring opportunity anywhere on the pitch, and otherwise it's a direct free kick.
That would lead to some fun and games, but yeah, it would be a fairer, punishment. Yeah,
but they're making that decision every time anyway, because you've got to decide if you're going to send someone off or not.
Yeah.
I think. We're like, you would.
Anyway,
So that's what I think.
a.wenger@fifa.com is your email address to send your suggestions off there. I don't think IFAB are looking at the penalties, but yes, this has always been true. It's a much bigger punishment. On Williams today, I don't even understand why there was an attempt to gin up any controversy. You can't stick your hand out and punch one off the line. It's always going to be a penalty.
I thought Sancho did well there. Even though you're kind of willing him to stick it away, it felt like the opportunity, he wasn't quite there at any point until he shot, because the move inside got rid of the man who slid past. And then...
I thought he was composed in an otherwise pretty average performance for Sancho. He spent a lot of his time sort of wandering around, looking at his own shoes.
He hasn't been good.
He doesn't quite seem all there at the moment.
There were those 2 substitute appearances when he was good.
Yep.
But he hasn't had a good start yet since coming back, I don't think.
No, I know. And it is a worry, because he's too good to be this crap. And I don't know what the fix is, because they send him away to go train in Amsterdam for 3 months, and he's not come back any better, really. So it is a concern, but he did well there. And then I did find it funny, Willian afterwards pointing at his hand and like suggesting that it was against his body, when he full well knows it wasn't against his body, and we're all going to look at the camera or the footage.
I mean, I guess you just maybe hope it hits something before or whatever. Is there a way, because if that hits something before
if it hits his body, it's not a penalty. Yeah, as we saw in the Liverpool Real Madrid game during the week, where I can't remember who it was now. Hit his leg, then hit his arm, and it went to VAR, and they said no penalty, as it should be. As Lisandro Martinez, the penalty was given against him, against Real Sociedad, which means, it had those 2 extra games. It should never have been a penalty. Anyway, this was direct on his hand. His hand was away from the body. It's clearly, it was going in. Apart from that, it was going to be a penalty and a red card all day long. The ref just got it wrong on the field when he gave a corner for that one. And then Marco Silva and then Mitrovic absolutely losing the run of themselves. Just thoroughly entertaining.
Because if also now Marco Silva, how could you bollock Mitrovic for what he did?
He started it.
If you were, I mean, I can see why you'd be annoyed that I think they've got form with that referee. I think I might have seen. I don't want to say something that isn't the case. So I'll check when we go off air, and you can cut it out if I'm wrong. But I think Marco Silva has form with that referee, that he's denied Fulham stuff that Fulham think they should have had. I think I read that. But even so, it feels like a weird place. I mean, I know that they're professionals and they're more driven and full of everything than I could possibly imagine. But it just seemed like a strange place to lose it because there's just stuff going on, and it's not that big a game, is it? I mean,
maybe for them it feels like it, but also not that controversial. It's
not
like
I guess you're in the middle of a game at Old Trafford. Maybe I'm being an idiot. I don't know. It's just I feel like he must have it doesn't feel like the most pressurized environment. So I'm not measuring it by how much I think he wants it. More that I feel like you see that kind of reaction usually when there's a little bit more pressure than 1-0 up in a cup. I don't know. Anyway,
in a cup quarter-final. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yes, it seemed it went from 0 to 100 miles an hour very, very quickly. That escalated quickly, right?
Yeah, like you see. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But it was just. But Mitrovic also. Why was he so angry? I don't know.
It's his first red card for Fulham. I mean, he seems like a player on the edge, but the stats would seem to prove otherwise. But yeah, Marco Silva, you can't interfere with the referee when that VAR call. I mean, that's been really, really clear about that one. It was always going to be a penalty. I don't know why they're so angry. They gave it away. I mean, he punched it off the line, right? There's no controversy there. It's not like the City one they got in midweek where it maybe brushed a hair on his arm and while the guy was jumping, and then there's some subjectivity about it. So yeah, Silva's just completely lost the run of himself. Mitrovic, I just don't get it. Why does he think manhandling the referee is going to make a difference there? I mean, clearly.
Has he lost it at that point, do you think?
I mean,
because it never felt like he was totally out of control. But I think the thing with Mitrovic is he's a physically imposing guy. And I think that, I bet the ref, I don't know, when he's running at you, I imagine it's quite a terrifying thing.
Sure. And the ref was backpedaling, but it's, just really, really dumb. Only going to have one outcome there. I mean, I guess he's able, and he does, intimidate other players, and that's fair enough, right? If he'd squared up with another player like that, it's not like the touch on the shoulder was enough to send someone sprawling or anything like that. Who was it? Canio and Alcock, wasn't it, years ago? Yeah. It wasn't quite that.
I mean, that was one of those things where you just, it's impossible not to see both sides of it. You can't put your hands on the ref, and there could be ramifications at levels of football if that kind of thing is seen going on and unpunished at professional level.
Exactly, because all the players would just they would go to intimidate a referee. Of course they would. And
yet, when Paolo Di Canio pushed Paul Alcock over, it was not the least hilarious thing I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, yes, not that we'd like to advocate for violence, but that was thoroughly entertaining. Yeah, so was Fulham completely losing themselves. Thoroughly entertaining. Bruno put the penalty away. There was a lot of shenanigans around the penalty as well, like trying to scuff up the spot and pressurize the player. Rashford was still on at that point, right? So is he now off penalties? So.
I don't know. I mean, I guess they work it out between the two of them.
I guess maybe they're taking turns or something. I can't remember who's taking. They're
both pretty good.
Season.
They're both pretty good. I expect either of them to score, but they both miss them occasionally, as most players do. So
I have to say I look at that dead straight run up, short, dead straight, and doing the stutter as oh my God, you look like a complete idiot if you screw that one up, but you're right in the corner. So good pen.
I think he only seems to do the jump and that one. I don't think he does it when it's a really big pen. I think he takes them more normally, usually, if it's a real pressure penalty. And I think the rationale behind it is sound. That basically, if the keeper goes, then you just roll it into the empty net. And if he doesn't, by the time you've landed, it's too late because you can't move fast enough if you hit it.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to miss it. And also, he might go early because he thinks and then you get a retake. That's the rationale.
Yeah.
I still don't like it.
No, I don't like it. I look at it, I'm like, oh, especially in a penalty shootout. So.
He's a good example of what we were saying earlier. The penalty that he scored 10 minutes after the final whistle at Brighton, there was none of that skip. He just went and drilled it in the top corner.
Right.
And I felt like if you could do that all the time,
why not just do that?
Why not just do that? Yeah, exactly. Because if the keeper there went and stood in that corner, you could just he'd literally have to stand in the corner to be able to save it, even if he knew you were doing it every time.
Yeah. Nice goal for the third one, Bruno's goal, when it didn't really matter anymore, but good finish.
Yeah, he's good. And he can play the position that he's playing more often now. He's playing a bit more of a midfield player than before. We're going to need him.
He did after the changes. He went to basically to 8, didn't he? So, I mean, a lot of flexibility. I mean, we had for a while Rashford up top, Weghorst at 10, Bruno at 8, which it's very odd every time I see that. So, if you ask me to build the profile of a perfect number 10, it'd be almost exactly opposite of what Weghorst is, but still, he has got. That's now 2 goals in 18 games for United, which is about his standard. But
I literally wrote this for a talking point in tomorrow's on the Guardian tomorrow, and I've been kind of thinking. I wrote that about Weghorst. Just I felt bad saying it. I don't think he's not good enough, and I said exactly that. 2 in 18, and you're not, kind of centre forward if you're not threatening the goal. And I see all the good things he does, but they sort of seem to be bare minimums.
They are bare minimums.
And I don't see, I don't know. I would, in a big game, I mean, it will never happen, but I think I'd be wanting a more fluid front three.
For sure.
I'd play Rashford up front and not him if it was a game I really wanted to win, I think. But I understand why he's there, to try and help them win, and Ten Hag knows much more about football than we do. But yeah,
United have been scoring goals with him in the team, so there's something about the team scoring goals with him there, but it's when he's got a presentable chance and he scuffs one yet again, which was his one chance today on his left foot. It was basically a back pass. So, and for all he brings to the team in a big game, at some point he's going to miss one of those, and it might cost United.
It's not just about the missing of the opportunities. It's just, I feel like opposition teams probably don't mind facing him.
Because he does everything as well as it's okay. His ability to help in the build-up. It's all very slow as well.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I guess, yeah. Maybe Rashford isn't able to play as effectively up front, and to Ten Hag standards. I mean, I guess he again would be a better judge of that than us. But it just feels like a roving front three of something would be harder to defend, because there's just more movement. You more or less know where Weghorst's going to be, and it's not going to be in your penalty area scoring a goal.
He's made 16 accurate passes today. I mean, that's one every 4 minutes or something. It doesn't feel like that's a player that's deeply involved in the game. A problem to fix, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I'm not really criticising anyone for this. He's doing his best. He obviously loves being there. He's putting it in, and I respect him for that, because that's much easier said than done, as we all know, because we've all had jobs, even if it wasn't playing centre forward for Man United. And the player we needed or wanted or whatever wasn't available, and so we had to get something. It was him, and we've been good with him in the team. But I'm not seeing loads that makes me think it would be worth keeping him.
Yeah. So who's the about Weghorst on the Guardian football team then, Dan? No, don't answer that one. It's you. No. All right. I haven't got anything more to say about Fulham. Any thoughts? I mean, I can't extrapolate from this anything other than the team looked knackered. So, yeah.
I have one final thought that I thought it, and I don't actually want to particularly ruin anyone else's day with it. But at the same time, maybe we're all thinking it. But this is, in theory, our best season in a generation. This is the best United team since Fergie, right? The extent to which this season could still go wrong is absolutely monstrous.
Yeah, it looks very, very tight. I mean, it's a loss and a draw in the Premier League away from Newcastle overtaking us. And 2 losses, 2 defeats from Tottenham, although Conte is doing his very, very, very best to get fired and hopefully derail Spurs' season. But yeah, it's really tight in the Premier League.
Well, it's not the top 4 so much. I mean, I think in some ways that I think will make that happen. But it's more City are still in everything.
Yep.
And they've got basically a bye to the cup final.
Yep.
Maybe against us, a game that could have been a difficult game coming after Bayern away is now Sheffield United to get to the cup final.
Yeah, and you can make 8 changes and still have a team that's way too strong for that. So yeah.
Yeah, and what happens if they were to win the league, and that would be 3 in a row, everything else on the table, and the possibility of doing United in one of the legs.
Yeah.
Never mind what's going on with us in the top 4, but we could also botch the top 4 and botch the Europa for that. Yeah, so yeah, that's how wrong it could go.
Yes, the scenario of City doing the treble and beating us in the FA Cup final, yeah, it's still there. It's not a pleasant thought, Daniel. You had to put that in our heads.
I don't feel like City have got a lot of room for manoeuvre in the league.
They don't. I mean, it's 8 points with a game in hand, so yeah, they don't have any room for manoeuvre. They still play Arsenal again, though, don't they?
Yeah, Arsenal have to make sure that they can afford to lose that game because they probably will. I would say if Arsenal need anything out of that game, I think it's going the wrong way.
Yeah,
but
I mean, in the league, United don't have. I mean, there's the Chelsea game, which is going to get moved now because it's on the weekend. I mean, not that Chelsea are any good at the moment, but you look at that way, it's Stamford Bridge, isn't it? So I may be totally wrong about that. I think it is. That one's getting moved because the cup semi-final is going to go in a midweek somewhere, which there won't be a midweek if United are in the Europa League final. So it may well be one of those weeks where it's like a Tuesday, Thursday situation, which would not be good at all. Thankfully, we didn't get a replay in this game today because that would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, City are going to have to win a lot of games in a row. This backers content? We're going to be doing this for backers content?
No, we're talking about. I think for backers content, we're going to talk Europe, and we might as well put everything in context now.
Okay, so City are going to need to win a lot of games. Almost like from here, they're going to need to win almost every game to win everything in not a very long period of time. And I don't know. I don't think they're as good as City teams that haven't been able to.
Clearly not, yeah, and they don't seem to be able to create that consistency.
But they do have Haaland, and they are playing well now. So yeah. I don't think the worst will happen. I haven't forgotten that the worst could happen.
Yeah. So United played Brighton in the semi-final. It's going to be the Sunday, the 23rd, after United have played Sevilla in that away game. We could really do with a nice, handsome victory in the home game to make the away leg just a little less intense. I mean, it's not a good Sevilla side. It's a decent draw for United. I know they did us last time we played them, and they seem to have I mean, what they won? They've won the Europa 5 times in the last 20 years, something like that. It's an incredible record, but they're not a good team. Of all the Spanish teams we've played this season, they're the least good.
Yeah, there aren't any teams left in the draw that are better than United.
Yeah, for sure. It was Arsenal, a one-off game. Arsenal over 2 legs are the team you're looking at, worrying about. Everyone else in that draw, Sevilla, Juve, not the teams they once were. I mean, Juve would still be like 15 points behind Napoli if they hadn't had that huge points deduction. So decent team, not great team. So United are the best team left in that draw. Should win the Europa from here, but the back-to-back games are definitely where it could go wrong. I do look at that Brighton semi-final and worry about that one because they're going to be knackered. They'll get back at like 3 a.m. on the Friday morning. They'll have one session on the Friday, which will be a recovery session. That'll be it.
Yeah, and Brighton are good.
And Brighton are good.
Yeah, I mean, I actually watched Brighton today for work, and yeah, I mean, you can't really decide what they are after that one game, but we know that they're good. Evan Ferguson looks a really good player.
Looks a really good player, yeah.
Very complete for some player of his age.
Yeah, lovely. Great. One of his goals today was really good. Yeah.
I went to Arsenal actually for work the other night. And there was that delicious moment when, I can't remember who scored first Sporting, but where Ramsdale realises that he's not getting it because he thinks he's read it and he just performs. It's the moment of like peak athleticism as he's doing something improbable to try and claw the ball. And I'm doing this as we're talking with my hand, try and claw the ball out from behind him. And he can't.
Finally, he is the heir to David Seaman. So Seaman got lobbed twice, didn't he? That one in the cup final, Naeem, and then against Ronaldinho in the World Cup as well. So maybe Ramsdale's got one more to go to really catch up with that special trophy. Yeah, that was fun. We'll talk about some of the European stuff for the backers content, but it's anyway. Brighton are good. It's going to be that'll be a tough game. They use the ball really well. I think De Zerbi has taken them on, if that's fair to say. By the way,
scoring goals.
They're scoring goals as well. Yeah,
I think. But they've got a striker now that Potter didn't really have. But Potter's Chelsea struggled to score goals.
Yeah, we could of course play the Brighton network club because they've got Tony Bloom, who owns Brighton, also owns Union St. Gallois, who beat Union Berlin this week. They're still in Europa. That's kind of interesting. It's a slightly different topic, but we aren't half moving towards like networks of clubs, multi-club model, all playing each other. And I don't know whether you saw some of the Seferin's interview this week, where he was basically talking about. I mean, it may be his English not perfect, but he basically said, "Well, the owners of these multi-club networks want the rules to change, and so we'll have to go look at it." Which I thought was a really weird way of framing that whole argument. Because right now in the UEFA regs, it says it's about the integrity of competition. So what has changed? Is it no longer a challenge to the integrity of competition?
It's a challenge to the integrity of money, I guess, and power.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's where it's largely always been. And it just feels much more naked now.
Yeah. And every time the clubs put pressure on UEFA, they cave, basically, because the nuclear button is always there of Super League. Time will tell on that one.
The problem, is as we always said, you need proper regulation. Football's a massive global business, and it's sort of unregulated. At least there's nothing that can just deal with all of it.
Yeah. There isn't. Someone needs to regulate FIFA. FIFA, unfortunately, is there as a mafioso organization to enrich its leaders, or at least it behaves like that. So on the takeover stuff, I guess we talked a bit in the midweek pod about that, but we saw both parties now. The Qataris turn up with their delegation on Thursday, and then Ratcliffe and his co-owners at Ineos plus their representatives turn up on Friday. I don't know what to make of the fact that the Ratcliffe meeting was so much shorter. Do we care about that? Does it mean anything? I don't think so, really.
It feels like this isn't going to Ratcliffe, doesn't it, though?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, if the Qataris have no shortage of money, right? And it is a state bid, whether we like to pretend otherwise. So.
Right. So right, just that it just on that basis, how is Jim Ratcliffe? How if they've decided they want it? How is Jim Ratcliffe outbidding them? It just seems unlikely. I don't know.
It seems very unlikely. Yeah, but maybe the Glazers' parting gift to United will be to sell to a greenwasher rather than a sports washer. So I don't know whether you saw some of the there was a few reports out in midweek. I think I might have talked about it on the last pod actually, but about Qatar pulling out of the International Labour Union, and 2 days after the World Cup final, which was just incredibly brazen. They're like, okay, our PR piece is done now, so we can go back to being what we were. So and then. Again, I think this came after we recorded the pod. There were a bunch of people at Carrington this week with big signs saying Glazers out, Qatar in. It just seems such a strange place to be.
In a Box Junction. A very, very strange place to be.
Outrageous.
What?
£25 fine for that or more. What is it now?
I mean, it was taking a day for that. I don't know.
I just don't. I mean, look, people are desperate for success. But Ten Hag is proving that you can get it in just the normal way with United's current wealth.
With Ten Hag, we could probably win everything with the Glazers because we've done it before, and we're not that far off. like moderate spending, not moderate spending, but I mean, 2 players this summer would take us quite close to the best teams if we continue improving.
Of course it would. And in fact, with the UEFA regs coming in, United's revenue, I mean, although it slipped back because of poor on the pitch and off the pitch performance, if Ten Hag is the real deal, and he seems like it, United's revenue would grow again, and we would be, if not the largest revenue generating club in Europe, then close to it. But yeah, but you don't need state wealth, but unfortunately, some people see that as the fast route to victory. I just don't know what it means when you're a tool of foreign policy for a state. So,
no, I mean, I don't know. I have obviously been thinking about what I might do in that situation. Like, what's like, I mean, in the back of my mind, I've had a conversation with myself for years about would I start going to Old Trafford again. And I guess part of me wondered if what am I talking about? Assumed I would have kids that might drive me there because I wouldn't deprive them of Old Trafford because of a decision that I made in 2005 or whatever. That didn't happen. So now I've been having it with myself because I'm thinking, what actually the only suffering that's going on is me, and it felt like, am I just never going to go to Old Trafford again for the rest of my life because of that? I mean, maybe, but I've sort of been tossing it around in my head anyhow. And now I guess I'm thinking about it more because of the possibility of this being sold to people who I don't want us being sold to, who I would consider to be worse than the Glazers.
Right.
And then do you think, right, well, now I'm never going to go and see United ever again for like similar reasons, or I don't know. I don't know what the answers to this are for myself. Or I don't know. I'm sure there'll be other people that are having that kind of conversation too. Or will it make me want them to win less, or watch them play on the television less, or talk about? I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to feel if that happens.
Yeah, I don't know, and I almost think it's not the first question. The first question is about what does it really mean when you're supporting a thing that is not a sporting institution? Because the point of the Qatari state owning United is, as we've talked about, it's influence, it's power, it's manipulation, it's public relations, it's hard power, it's soft power, it's networks, it's diversification, it's all these things, and sporting success is an enabler of those, not the primary motive. I mean, if the primary motive of United right now is to make money for the Glazers, which I'm saying is definitely not good, right? The primary motive of United under Qatari ownership would be to the glorification of Qatar, the regime, and their need for soft and hard power. And the successes are it's something else, right? It's not about the sporting success first.
Right. So then, because then it's the question is, what does it mean to support United? And because you always, the United is a set of values and feelings and friendships and families and all the rest of it that will never be something you can exactly buy, but you can obviously buy the receptacle for all of it. Then what? Because obviously it's still the thing that it is, except it also isn't, and it's impossible for me not to feel the way about that, and then not to have to think about what you're going to do thereafter.
Because if you compartmentalize, so right now we all do.
You're not City anymore. I mean, I sang that.
Well, that's right. So right now with the Glazers owning the club, very few of us think this is good for Manchester United. Over the years, the few weirdos who thought it was good to start with, or made those insane arguments about it just being business or whatever, they've disappeared. But we all compartmentalize because we watch the team on the pitch, even though we don't like the owners. It becomes very, very different when the owners are using United as a tool, right? And if you compartmentalize there, you're just lying to yourself. And that's the thing that makes it so hard. But we'll see. It's not done yet. And like there's all these, the option of Qatar, Ratcliffe, some kind of Elliott-funded quasi-debt Glazer Gimps staying on, or nothing. and United just slowly falling behind because the business model doesn't stack up anymore. All these things are still possible.
Great. And City might win the treble. Anything else?
Yeah. Well, at least the crypto bros aren't going to be successful. Oh, dear. All right. Maybe we should call it a day there.
Please.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.